All right, we're going to get back to our breaking news. We just broke this a minute ago, right when we felt it here at the station. We believe we just had an earthquake right here in the upstate. And guys, I just got a text. They might have felt it down in Atlanta. Yeah,
this could have been a much stronger earthquake than we're used to getting around here. National Weather Service is on top of this, too, and we've been checking the USGS site. Right. There's been no official report yet, but the National Weather Service has had reports from Abbeville, Hart County, as well as Oconee County, and at GSP Airport, they did feel it, just like we did here at the station at Pelham and 85 in Greenville.
Yeah, it was the strangest thing because we were working on our stories, and Kendra, you mentioned that you saw some things moving in the corner.
Yeah, I thought a light was about to fall off I just thought something rumbled.
Right.
I mean, you don't necessarily think earthquake immediately when you see something moving around, but yeah, it was very lightly felt here, but apparently in our newsroom, which is, just off to our left here, it was felt pretty strongly.
And on Twitter, we're hearing in Hart County, the Hart Talk Radio down there saying they felt it for about 5 to 8 seconds. Boiling Springs, Brevard. Now, Charleston also, a girl from here, Charleston just felt it freaky. So that means all the way down to Atlanta, Charleston, Lake Toxaway. And we were talking about this. I was actually stuck on the road when the one from D.C. hit. Yes. And I felt it on the road. And it went all the way down the East Coast. So this could be something else, affecting the entire East Coast.
Who knows where the epicenter could be? Yeah, this could be something that's well north of us, or it could have been right here in the Carolinas, since we do have earthquakes, about 5 a year usually across the upstate, but they're usually really small, hardly even felt.
And we apologize. We're going to keep looking at our computers.
Yeah, well, and I want to tell you about a few of these, because I mean, this is the great thing to me about social media is we get to immediately kind of see who felt it, what did you see? Yeah, if we want to pull up my Facebook page, that's fine. I've got Nancy Flowers who says that it woke her grandkids up. I've got somebody saying, yeah, it's been reported from Bowman, South Carolina to the upstate down to Atlanta. In Lake Greenwood, Michael Rochelle is saying, yeah, I heard a boom and the whole house shook there. And then somebody else said, yeah, they felt it in Seneca as well.
Kendra, getting this right now, the SCEMD has tweeted out a 5.4 magnitude earthquake reported in Georgia. Details soon, hashtag SC tweets. Okay. So we're going to start following them, but now that's not confirmed. But again, what we're hearing right now, let me go to this and see. But yeah, they're reporting, SCEMD reporting a 5.4 earthquake reported in Georgia. So that's about all we're hearing right now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at National Weather Service reporting northeast Georgia all the way to Rock Hill. Reports coming in like crazy. Also around the Charlotte area. So they're continuing to monitor, but again, nothing official yet from USGS.
But when you're dealing with a 5.4 magnitude, I mean, that's something obviously that is going to be felt, pretty strongly. A lot of people saying they felt it for about 10 seconds. And, for it to happen in Georgia, it just sounds like it's really fanned out from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally we get them in the 2 range, which is something that you barely even feel. So that would, and as the magnitude increases, they get much, much stronger. So a 5 would be absolutely.
South Carolina Emergency Management, they tweeted out 11 minutes ago, shaking here, possible earthquake, and then 7 minutes ago, possible earthquake felt in South Carolina. Reports from Greenville to Columbia, and then just 3 minutes ago, South Carolina Emergency Management saying that 5.4. I guess they're working also to confirm, but that's coming officially from their Twitter page.
Also, just noticed we have a brand new earthquake that has been reported on USGS, about 6 miles west-northwest of Edgefield, South Carolina. Okay. So that would be just south of us. And we got our first reports out of 96 where they said it was very strong, and that's just to the south of Greenwood County. It doesn't show, it shows a magnitude 4.4 on USGS right now.
Now, if you're hearing, if you've heard this, we want to talk to you. Call our newsroom right now, 213-2121. Again, if you felt this, if anything in your house shook, give us a call in our newsroom, 213-2121. Debbie and Woodruff right now on the phone with us, Diana. Debbie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
So, Debbie, talk us through kind of what you were doing and what happened here in the last, 15 minutes.
I was resting in my recliner, and my boxer was laying in my husband's recliner, and I was watching a movie, and our double wide, the whole double wide just started shaking, and it shook so hard. I thought it was going to come off of the underpinning, and I am very shaken up about this.
Debbie, you sound upset. You sound like this really did kind of shake you tonight.
Yes,
I mean, you were probably just wondering what in the world that was.
Yes, I mean, it lasted for like 6 seconds, and it just slowly went away.
Wow.
Did you have anything fall off the wall or anything like that, or was it just more like everything just moved?
Everything just shook. It shook. and I've got a lamp that's set up on a pole. It shook very bad.
Wow. Did you say you were there with your husband when this was happening, Debbie?
Yes, my husband is in the bed because he works, but my boxer, his ears went straight up, and he jumped down off of the recliner, and I'm scared. Yeah. I'm very scared.
Well, Debbie, we are glad you're okay. Thank you so much for calling in, and we're going to take more of your phone calls. Again, we're hearing of a 5.4 earthquake. Kendra is getting on USGS. What are you hearing, Kendra?
Well, right now, the only official thing I have from USGS out of Edgefield, South Carolina, of 4.4, that's considered a light earthquake, but it's noticeable, something that shakes indoor objects and makes rattling noises, felt by most people affected, slightly felt outside, generally causes none to minimal damage, so that's some good news there. But again, that 4.4 that was reported, we're also hearing of one in Georgia, so one of these could have been an aftershock from the, so it's hard to know exactly what we're dealing with. But again, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake usually only causes minor damage, guys. So that's good news so far.
Okay, well, look, we're going to stay on top of this. We're going to go to break right now. We'll be right back, get some more information together, but keep the information coming to us, and we will be right back.
Cody's got more information.
I believe we have someone on the phone right now. If you can just tell us your first and last name. Hello?
Hey.
Is this Dorothy?
Yes.
Hey,
I'm in Saluda.
You're in Saluda. So, Dorothy, I heard you felt this and you thought it might have been in your front yard. Tell us what you experienced here.
My whole house rocked.
And any damage there? Things fall off the wall?
A couple of little pictures that was hanging over by the door.
And
they fell.
And Dorothy,
but it felt like somebody run into a tree in my yard.
Wow.
Well, now, Dorothy, have you lived in this area for quite some time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been around there, and have you ever experienced anything like what you felt about 15 minutes ago?
No. I mean, the whole house shook.
And are you hearing from other people in that area?
Sir?
Have you heard from anybody else in that area that, they felt the same thing?
Yes. Rex and Jeanette Horton, they live in Johnston.
And they felt the shaking too?
Yes.
All right. Well, Dorothy, thank you so much. Like I said, we're hearing this all the way down to Atlanta, all the way up in our North Carolina county. So I'm glad you're safe, glad you don't have any damage there. But Dorothy, thanks so much for calling in with us.
Okay, thank you.
And we should mention our phone lines are jammed right now. That's how many people are calling our newsroom. We're going to be taking live reports from viewers there. And again, Diana's working on, we're hearing some maybe structure damage. So Kendra, while we kind of regroup over here, get our bearings, we're going to throw it over to you to let you talk a little bit about this earthquake and what you can tell us as far as, the details on it.
That's right. Again, if you're just now tuning in with us, this is what we would consider a lighter earthquake, but it's strong for our area. A magnitude 4.4, which usually causes noticeable shaking, which obviously we're getting so many reports and actually felt it here in the studio. It can make rattling noises. That was what my husband actually reported out of Greenville, is that he just kind of heard it, but didn't actually feel it, and generally doesn't cause much damage or just minimal damage. So that's good news there, but we are getting reports that some homes were damaged from this, and we'll bring you that as soon as we can. Let's take graphics if we can. I want to show you exactly where Edgefield is located, and that is just to the south of Greenwood County here. We've got McCormick, and then on down 25. That's where we have Edgefield, and that's where the epicenter was recorded. So you can see places like Greenwood, 96, Abbeville, pretty close to the center point of that earthquake. So that's where we felt the strongest in the way of shaking. And then, of course, as you move toward the north, Greenville felt it as well as Anderson and areas in northeast Georgia. So again, to give you perspective, here's Greenwood, just travel a little farther south, and there we are in Edgefield. And there were actually reports of it being felt all the way toward Atlanta as well as toward Charleston. So this is a wide-scoping event for us across the Carolinas and Georgia. Again, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake being reported out of Edgefield, South Carolina. This is a lighter end earthquake, but still can cause damage. Okay, we may have some, do you guys have some new information for us?
We could keep talking and talking, I think, Kendra. Let's go ahead and take a look right now. I'm actually trying to look up all kinds of information, but getting some very interesting reports from Philip Blackwell, who's on ham radio, saying one man said that his wall had buckled, but they're trying to determine exactly where this man is. Basically, everybody now is, trying to monitor exactly what's going on. He personally says it shook his house so bad that he says he thinks his whole bed moved. He was asleep and it woke him up. And, you're hearing from a lot of people who are saying, hey, I was in front of the TV, I was watching, wasn't quite sure what it was. And a lot of people's pets, even my neighbor across the street just texted me and said that their dog started going crazy. And I think that happened to a lot of people just a little while ago.
Now, we're going to have to apologize because we're going to be on our computers or cell phones. It's a lot of social media going on here. Just got a text, hey, Cody, I felt the earthquake about 10 minutes ago. Felt like a low-flying jet was shaking the house. A friend of mine just texted me from Atlanta saying, what was that? Again, told him it was an earthquake. A lot of people hearing it. Stephanie and Henderson here. We felt it all the way in Simpsonville. Shook the whole house and made a loud noise. So everybody's kind of reporting the same thing. To reiterate, if you're just joining us, we broke in just a little bit ago during the newscast because Kendra felt this. Then I got a call from a friend in 96 who were trying to get on the air right now to talk to us about it, that they felt their entire house shake.
Yeah, I think it just, and within moments, because of Facebook and social media, it just seems like everybody was able very, very quickly to sort of compare notes. And we've been able to say, hey, this is a big geographic area we're talking about. This isn't centered just on Greenville, just on Spartanburg. We've heard from people literally all over the upstate into the Atlanta area. I heard from somebody in Rock Hill saying that they felt it, just definitely a larger area. We want to go to Derek.
That phone call during a few breaks ago is Lauren Morris. She's on the phone now. And Lauren, you're in 96. Walk us through what you guys were doing and when you felt it.
This is LaJuan Ariel. I'm in Lawrence, South Carolina.
Okay, I apologize.
Sorry
What's your
about that.
name?
LaJuan Ariel.
LaJuan, okay. And you're tell us what you kind of felt down in Lawrence and what were you doing?
I was doing homework for college. I'm a nurse, and I heard something coming that sounded like something in the distance coming, and I looked up and I said, what is that? Because we don't live close to a railroad track or anything like that. And about the time I looked up, my entire house shook, like about 5 or 6 seconds. Wow. The whole house shook.
And that's what we're hearing. We're hearing about that 5 to 8 second mark is how long this thing kind of trembled or made everything shake. Anything on your walls? Can you see any damage?
No, I don't see any damage, but everything in this house shook and moved out of the place that it was in.
What did you think it was when that started happening? Were you just confused about what in the world was going on?
I used to live close to a railroad track, and when the trains would shift or something, it would kind of sound like that. But we don't live close to a railroad track anymore, so I kind of was like, what is that noise, And then it shook this entire house.
Yeah, they say it's an eerie feeling. I was on the interstate last time, the one in D.C. that hit, and it's one of those things you can't really do much except sit there and wait for it to, get over with.
Well, we both were just kind of dumbfounded with what could it be. We went and looked to see if there was an accident in front of our house or, something major like that, and we didn't see anything. And we both kind of joked at each other, that was an earthquake.
Hey, that's what we did in the newsroom,
we did.
too.
We all looked at each other and kind of said, oh, yeah, maybe it was an earthquake, and then 2 seconds later realized it really was. Have you ever experienced an earthquake before, or you think this is the first time?
This is the first for me. I definitely have never experienced an earthquake, but, you could hear it coming. It was just kind of eerie because you could hear it, and then the whole house just shook. This is a big house.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're okay. We're glad your house is all right, and maybe you guys can rest a little easier tonight knowing what it is, and hopefully don't have any aftershocks.
Loud boom, and it shook the house.
What'd you think it was?
I really thought it was the house blowing up, actually.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm. And then we decided it was a low-flying airplane. My wife said it was an earthquake right off the bat, but, she was groggy, she was sleeping. It was all just kind of a funny feeling,
Well, did things fall off the wall or?
Just shook some things off the mantel, but that's it.
And your wife is okay?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's
okay.
good.
I'm glad to hear it. What's your name, sir?
I'm Mitchell Knight.
Mitchell Knight. Is it Knight?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Knight, thank you so much. Glad everything is safe and glad everything is secure at the hospital as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we continue our coverage of this earthquake, this 4.1 magnitude earthquake that hit about 2 hours and 10 minutes ago near Edgefield.
I want to take this really quickly. Jim Gandy just tweeted this out if you follow Jim Gandy on Twitter. This is the seismograph of the actual quake. Jim, this is the first time I'm ever seeing one of these, so can you explain to me exactly what we're looking at here?
Well, I was just able to get this from the USGS site. This is the seismograph, and basically what it's showing here, you know, the ground's almost always in some motion, but you're seeing the spike there when the earthquake occurred, so it kind of gives you an idea. It's not just a boom. It does last a little bit longer in time. This one looked like it lasted approximately 10 seconds, maybe a little bit more than that, but it kind of shows the spike there on the earthquake itself. And I throw that out there because I think you're going to be talking to an expert here.
Well, yeah, I have William Dorr on the phone. If we can put that back up so in case William hasn't seen it. William, if you're watching television at home, you are with the South Carolina Geological Survey. You're the Coastal Plain Regional Geologist, and we're looking at that earthquake as it happened. Tell us, as far as your personal knowledge goes about earthquakes in South Carolina, is this 4.1 pretty common, pretty rare, or what?
Well, it's actually fairly rare. We usually get ones and twos, like a lot of people hear about down in the Somerville area.
Right.
And, you know, there have been a handful of these over the past century or so that get up into the 4 and 5 range. Everybody who knows about earthquakes has heard about the big one down in Charleston in 1886.
Right.
But the second largest one was actually in Union County in 1913. And so every decade or so we get one of these bigger ones, and it, as we're seeing tonight, makes the news.
Back in 1886, what was the level what was the magnitude of that earthquake?
I think the final determination was somewhere around 7.3.
Wow.
We use the Richter scale now, and that's what the 7.3 number is, and this 4.1. But back then, they didn't have the Richter scale, so they used what was called a Mercalli scale, which was people reporting what they felt and what damage was done. And so the USGS and other folks went back and tried to take those numbers and figure out what the Richter scale value would be today.
Will, we got a fault line runs right through the Midlands. We have some fault lines all across the state. Is this something that's overdue for the state of South Carolina? I mean, nobody wants an earthquake, but are we overdue to have a sizable earthquake in this state?
That's a really good question. Earthquake prediction really, that's the holy grail for a lot of geologists, is to be able to look at the data and say, hey, we're going to have an earthquake soon. But the way the crust is, the actual rock, the land that we have here on the East Coast, doesn't leave us susceptible really to lots of big earthquakes. The one in Virginia was an outstanding one a couple of years ago for how big it was.
Right, in 2011. That was a 5.8 back then, and we felt it here in South Carolina. There was even buildings that evacuated downtown.
Oh, yeah, and calls from within 10 minutes, our phone lines were flooded. My text messages came on all our work phones from people, friends of mine from all over, and colleagues were calling in to confirm what everybody felt for that one. And that's kind of what happened tonight. I had folks contact me from around the state and even the Atlanta area, the Asheville, Charlotte areas of North Carolina on this. But these are unusual. Our rocks here are really hard compared to, say, the West Coast in California. So to get an earthquake, you really have to do something big geologically to crack the rocks to produce these here, and that's why we have them so infrequently.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, Will. You know, we have a lot of viewers emailing us tonight and tweeting us and talking to us on Facebook saying that they're really scared and they don't understand why this happened. This isn't something, of course, we can all give you our hurricane expertise at the drop of a hat, but this isn't something that a lot of people understand. So with your geology background, can you just explain in layman's terms exactly what it is that caused this earthquake tonight?
Earthquakes are caused when rocks in the crust break under stress. just like breaking a window glass. You add stress to it and the glass will break. That's what the seismograph shows. That peak in that seismograph is actually the rocks moving. That's when the two pieces of rock move against each other. And that's the energy released when they actually move. The stresses are created by plate tectonics. About the big plates that make up the crust of the Earth, cover the entire Earth, are all slowly moving around. And in our case, that stress is being created out in the Atlantic by the Mid-Atlantic Spring Center, pushing North America away from Europe. So that pushing is adding stress to our rocks in order to push North America over to the Pacific, which is also why you get earthquakes in California, because that's where North America is actually sliding over top of the bottom of the Pacific Ocean.
That's actually very, very interesting information, something that I haven't heard before. How concerned should South Carolinians watching us tonight be that something like this is going to happen again?
Not very. Like I said, earthquakes in this size range, once every 10 years, once every 20 years. Like, there's only 5 or so in the last century, so 20 to 30 years. The big earthquake in Charleston is even less frequently. I mean, it only happened once in recorded Western history, and Europeans came here, 300, 400 years ago. So it's not a major concern here. You might call it the little ones annoying because they might rattle your windows or your plates up in your cabinets. But worrying about earthquakes like this, it gets everybody really excited and might damage some homes or some structures if they are big enough. But as a general rule, winter storms like we've had this week are far more of a problem than earthquakes.
Well, let me mention this to you. According to the State Emergency Management Office, the last magnitude earthquake of this strength was 4.4 some 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago down in Charleston. So that was 4.4 in 2002. This one was a 4.1, but yet I don't remember feeling the one that hit Charleston in 2002 that was a 4.4. How come I felt this one tonight in Edgefield and didn't feel the one in Charleston just 12 years ago?
That has to do with the way South Carolina is geologically put together. The coastal plain is a stack of sediments that, due to erosion, rivers washing sand and mud and stuff downstream, and the ocean bringing sand and mud in, it's all layered going between us here in Columbia and out towards Charleston. From here to the upstate, it's all rock at the surface. You don't get that cover of sands and mud. Those sands and muds act like a sponge and soak up the energy released by an earthquake. So the fact that this earthquake was down near Edgefield, down near Strawthurman Lake, that means it was in hard rock at the surface. And here in Columbia, some folks are on coastal plain stuff if they're far enough east, but most everybody else is on rock, and the foundations of many of the taller buildings are in rock. So you don't get any of that absorption at all of the energy. So it's almost like a direct transferring of the energy released from that earthquake straight to here, whereas people down closer to the coast may feel something totally differently. On the more complicated part of that is those same sands and muds down there sometimes can act like jello and not a sponge, and can actually make the shaking worse as it shakes like a bowl full of jello does. So it's not quite a simple answer, but it's close to the right answer.
All right. Will Dorr, some very good insight tonight with the South Carolina Geological Survey. Thank you for your time and for your very informative information there.
And thank you all for the coverage of this.
All righty.
Thank you, Will.